The first software company in the industry, and I think he built the first software company before anybody really in our industry knew what a software company was, except for these guys. And that was huge. And I think building a company is really hard, and it requires your greatest persuasive abilities to hire the best people you can and keep them at your company and keep them working, doing the best work of their lives, hopefully. And Bill's been able to stay with it for all these years.
What Steve's done is quite phenomenal. If you look back to 1977, that Apple II computer, the idea that it would be a mass market machine, the bet that was made there by Apple uniquely, there were other people with products, but the idea that this could be an incredible, empowering phenomena, Apple pursued that dream. Then one of the most fun things we did was the Macintosh, and that was so risky. People may not remember that Apple really bet the company. Lisa hadn't done that well, and some people were saying, okay, that general approach wasn't good. But the team that Steve built, even within the company, to pursue that. Steve gave a speech once, which is one of my favorites, where he talked about, in a certain sense, we build the products that we want to use ourselves. So he's really pursued that with incredible taste and elegance that has had a huge impact on the industry. And his ability to always come around and figure out where that next bet should be has been phenomenal. Apple literally was failing when Steve went back and reinfused the innovation and risk-taking that have been phenomenal. So the industry's benefited immensely from his work. We've both been lucky to be part of it, but I'd say he's contributed as much as anyone.
Everything that's been done at Microsoft and at Apple has been done by just remarkable people, none of which are sitting up here, today.
Well, not us.
There were too many people at Apple and in the Apple ecosystem playing the game of, for Apple to win, Microsoft has to lose. And it was clear that you didn't have to play that game, because Apple wasn't going to beat Microsoft. Apple didn't have to beat Microsoft. Apple had to remember who Apple was, because it had forgotten who Apple was. And so to me, it was pretty essential to break that paradigm. And it was also important that Microsoft was the biggest software developer outside of Apple developing for the Mac. And so it was just crazy what was happening at that time. And Apple was very weak. And so I called Bill up and we tried to patch things.
And he claimed that at one point they had placed the biggest order for whatever the Mac Tower was at the time of anybody, and it was Microsoft.
I don't know if it was the biggest, but yeah, we had the same processor essentially that the Mac had. This is one of those great ironies. They were switching away from that processor while the Xbox 360 was adopting it, but for good reasons actually in both cases.
There aren't very many software companies left, and Microsoft is a software company, and so we look at what they do and we think some of it's really great. We think some of it's, a little bit of it's competitive and most of it's not. We don't have a belief that the Mac is going to take over 80% of the PC market. We're really happy when our market share goes up a point, and we love that and we work real hard at it. But Apple's fundamentally a software company, and there's not a lot of us left, and Microsoft's one. It happened that I'm sure I could have done better when I was at Apple the first time. And a lot of things that happened after I left that I thought were wrong turns, but it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, and you kind of got to let go of that stuff. And we are where we are. So we tend to look forward. And one of the things I did when I got back to Apple 10 years ago was because you can't look back and say, well, gosh, I wish I hadn't gotten fired. I wish I was there. I wish this. I wish that. It doesn't matter. And so let's go invent tomorrow, rather than worrying about a lot of things that are risky right now, which is always a good sign, and you can see through them. You can see to the other side and go, yes, this could be huge, but there's a period of risk that nobody's ever done it before.
An example that would, for example,
I do, but I can't say.
Okay.
And so, but I can say when you feel like that, that's a great thing.
Right.
That's what keeps you coming to work in the morning, and it tells you there's something exciting around the next corner. Okay.
I mean, I believe in the tablet form factor. I think you'll have voice, I think you'll have ink, you'll have some way of having a hardware keyboard and some settings for that. And then you'll have the device that fits in your pocket, which the whole notion of how much function should you combine in there. Home, you'll have your living room, which is your 10-foot experience, and that's connected up to the internet. And there you'll have gaming and entertainment. There's a lot of experimentation in terms of what content looks like in that world. Quickly, all these things that have been somewhat specialized, the navigation device, the digital wallet, the phone, the camera, the video camera, how quickly those all come together, it's hard to chart out. But eventually, you'll be able to make something that has the capability.
Differently, which is we're not trying to do a lot of this stuff because it's not what we do. We don't think one company can do everything. So you've got to partner with people that are really good at stuff. Like we're not, I mean, maybe Microsoft is great at search. We're not. We're not trying to be great at search. So we partner with people that are great at search. And we don't know how to do maps on the back end. We know how to do the best maps client in the world, but we don't know how to do the back end. So we partner with people that know how to do the back end. And what we want to do is be that consumer's device and that consumer's experience wrapped around all this information and things we can deliver to them in a wonderful user interface, in a coherent product. We do that, and I think it's really hard for one company to do everything.
But thank you, Steve. About your relationship. I mean, you're obviously going to go down in history as history books already said kind of thing. But what's the greatest misunderstanding between you and your relationship and about each other? What would you say would be this idea of catfight, this idea?
Have anything to complain about in general. And I know that the projects, like the Mac project, you know, was just an incredible thing, a fun thing where we were taking a risk. We did look a lot younger in that video.
We did.
You look 12 in the first one.
That's how I try and look.
It was 12.
But no, it's been fun to work together. And I actually kind of miss some of the people aren't around anymore. You know, people come and go in this industry. It's nice when somebody sticks around and you know, have some context of all the things that have worked and not worked. And the industry gets all crazy about some new thing. You know, like, you know, there's always this paradigm of the company that's successful is going to go away and stuff like that. It's nice to have people who've seen the waves and waves of that, and yet been willing, when it counted, to take the risk to bring in something.
When Bill and I first met each other and worked together in the early days, generally we were both the youngest guys in the room, right? Individually or together. I'm about 6 months older than he is, but roughly the same age. And now, when we're working at our respective companies, I don't know about you, but I'm the oldest guy in the room most of the time. And that's why I love being here. And so
happy to oblige. Happy to oblige.
And you know, I think of most things in life as either a Bob Dylan or a Beatles song. But there's that one line in that one Beatles song, you and I have memories longer than the road that stretches out ahead. And that's clearly true here.
Well, you know what? I think we should end it there. Let's just end it there.
I'm gonna have a little tear right here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.